but because of being such a small faculty, one knew everyone in it, and Madge, who was in due course to become Mrs. MacDonald, was up at Newnham College with two of her contemporaries at school, both studying Spanish also. And she was at Newnham, and the other two were at Girton. And they had a Spanish don, Rafael Dieste, who was a reader in Spanish, and a lady used to help with conversation classes and so forth, called Señorita Carmen Lorite Martinez.
Yeah.
And we had
what fun for you.
Yes, and we had when we all turned up to see if we wanted to take part in conversation classes, there was a room full of the faculty, probably about 30 there, and she was going around asking people's names. And he came round, and I gave her my name, and then Bagshaw gave his name, Bangshaw, his Broad Yorkshire. And when we went the next week for our conversation class, she, looking at her list and searching for faces, she would say, "Excuse if I finger you." Mr. Bagshand. He said, "No, Bagshaw is the name. Bagshaw, not Bagshand." She said, "Oh, Mr. Bagshaw, yeah." It's obviously her W she wrote looked like an N and a D.
Yes, you see.
Anyway, we got on with that, conversation and what have you. Next time we met, she said, Mr. Bagshat." and that was enough for Terry Bagshaw. He didn't go again. So a bit sensitive about being called Bagshaw.
Yes, I know. I'm not surprised. Oh dear.
And the professor was quite a notable figure in the J.B. Trend. He's one of the books you all used, I think, with the Civilization of Spain. I think it was called J.B. Trend. He was just again a caricature of a Cambridge professor. He was approaching retirement, slightly bumbly. We used to go to his lectures because they were such fun. He got all his notes mixed up, and but he used to hold evenings in his room in Christ's, and we would go there and sit round on the floor, on the chairs and so forth, to listen to him talking, reminiscing and records.
Oh, it must have been rather good for you, all these very nice people who likes him and know what.
And the Rafael Dieste, rather buttoned up, rather nervous man, was there.
No.
But Trend was he did his degree in natural sciences, and the language that I think he learned, I think they had to do another language, and most people did French. It was the easiest from school. I think he had German or learned German and spent time in Germany, and for reasons I never fully understood, there seemed to be some sort of Hispano-German connection, and one thinks, of course, of Nazis, but I don't think it's before that time. Before that time, there's some academic link-up between the universities, German universities and Spanish universities. Yeah. Anyway, Trend took himself off to Spain to learn Spanish and so forth. And in the course of his introductions he probably had or whatever, he became Manuel de Falla's secretary.
Oh, gracious.
And the sort of tale that he would say was, one day Manuel said to me, "What shall be the subject of my next opera?" And I said to him, "An Englishman in Seville." "Great," he said. And then we'd sit down and listen to scratchy records of rare recordings of Vallia's music and so forth.
Yes. Well, what a marvel time down the city. I know.
But it was all very rich and enjoyable.
Mm.
Now, what else did I do? There was rowing. I was pounced on by the rowing club to Cox, and I resisted and I wriggled. I didn't really want to Cox, but the idea nonetheless appealed to me if I could only just do it once. However, I found myself Cox of the third boat, which meant going out twice a week at about 3:30, and in the gathering gloom and in the cold just sit there at the back of this boat shouting in, out,
not
out.
Very nice.
And
No. I can see.
It became, I really didn't enjoy it, but anyway, it was character forming, I suppose. I also started to play squash. I played with Atkinson once in London at the Imperial College Court, or London University Court, and bought a racket for the occasion. It was the cheapest racket I could find, and I broke it during the first game.
Good gracious.
It just, because of failure to judge the distance between me and the wall, I hit the wall a resounding thwack, and the head dropped off the racket.
Oh dear, that wouldn't...
Anyway, I started playing squash there. Probably not very well.
But did you like it? Yes, it was good. It was good to try to carry
At the end of the first year, when it came to the rowing in the end of the summer term, I think it was the Mays or the whatever they were called, the races, the summer races, I found myself promoted to the second boat, which I had to wear a special blazer, which they obviously kept in a wardrobe and gave out. It was far too big for me, small though I was.
Oh dear.
So, at the end of my first year there, having taken the exam, we went off to Spitsbergen again for the Prince Charles Falkland Expedition number 2. I might add that in part of all my freshman activities, I went to the freshman meeting for the Cambridge University Climbing Club. I went there, and it was... I didn't sort of gel with it particularly. It was a lot of people all greeting each other. They knew each other from school and things like that. And by then, of course, we got Iceland and Spitsbergen behind me, and climbing in Wales and so forth. And the actual rock climbing had receded a little bit from the forefront of my mind, been displaced by expeditioning and polar work and so forth, of which ability to climb mountains was only part. So, not having responded to the vibes generated at that meeting, I didn't have anything further to do with it at all during my time at Cambridge, which, looking back, was a mistake, as I would have got to climbing on outings and climbed with experienced people and enlarge my circle of acquaintances.